Now again, this is a very important topic when we talk about networking. Why? Because ports are scanned by ethical hackers, which services they are running, and how do we attack them, we will learn further. So first understand what exactly is a network port. A network port, which is provided by transport layer protocol of internet protocol suite such as TCP and UDP, is a number which is serving endpoint communication between two computers. So if I tell you in very easy language, so computer systems have USB ports, HDMI ports. Now these are known as hardware ports. Similarly, there are network ports. Actually, these ports are simply numbers. For example, 80, 443, 444, 445. So these are numbers till 65535. That's the last port number. Port numbers are of 16-bit, and like hardware ports like USB port, each port has its own function. Similarly, network ports, each port has their own function. So for example, port number 80 will have a particular service running. Port number 81 will have a particular service running. At a time, no two services can be run on a single port. So ports are classified into three main categories. First one is well-known ports, second one is registered ports, and third one is private or dynamic ports. So like I said, the last port number is 65535. So the ports range from 0 till 65535. So amongst these ports 0 till 1023, these ports are known as well-known ports. Now they are used by system or processes run by root or with specific privileges. The port numbers range from 0 to 1023. Okay. The next comes registered ports. So these ports vary from 1024 till 49151. So these ports are used by programs run by users in the system. So earlier port numbers till 1023 belong to the processes run by root. However, in this registered port category, these ports are used by programs run by user in the system. And last category is private or dynamic ports. These ports are not used for any specific purpose. They range from 49152 till 65535. Now comes the most interesting part. I have listed down certain very important services and port numbers that you must know. Now again, from an interviews perspective, these ports are very useful because they can generally ask like, okay, which service runs on port number 21 by default? So you should be able to answer such questions, and apart from that, it is very important to understand for our personal knowledge also, because ultimately we will be exploiting these services to gain higher privileges. So the very first port number I will be talking about is port number 20 or 21. Majorly 21 is associated with FTP, but port number 20 is also for FTP. Now these both are TCP ports, TCP port 20 and TCP port 21. By default, FTP runs over this. So what is FTP? It is file transfer protocol. It is used to transfer files over the internet, and for security purpose, it also asks for authentication by the user before the transfer of data. So like you have to provide a username and password, then only it will allow you to share files. The second service is Telnet, which runs on TCP port number 23. So it establishes a connection between a server and a remote computer. The connection is made once the authentication mechanism has been approved. Okay. And the third point is it is not suitable to establish a secure connection. So the connection over here is not secure and not encrypted. Next comes SSH. It runs on TCP port 22. It is referred to as secure shell. It carries out the task of remotely connecting to a remote server or host. Only authorized people will be able to remotely log on to this system using the port number 22, which makes sure that the information does not get into unauthorized hands. So for example, if I have another system, I can log into that from my other PC just by knowing the SSH credentials. So currently I'm just explaining you the theory, but in future we will be exploiting these services, and I will also be showing you how to do that. But before that, it is always important that you have an idea about that service, which port it runs on, and what actually it is expecting from us. The next service that I'll talk about is SMTP, that runs on TCP port number 25. Full form of SMTP is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It makes sure that email messages are communicated over the network securely. And not only does this protocol carry out the task of delivering messages within the network, it can also successfully deliver message between different networks. So I think this is clear. Next, we'll move to DNS. Now, I said while discussing UDP that one of the most important port number is 53 for UDP. It runs DNS. So, DNS stands for Domain Name System. It basically links the host name of the computer or networks to their respective IP addresses. So, for example, you search for google.com, it is the host name. Actually, that host name gets resolved into an IP address and then you get the data. So we are actually reaching the IP address by typing just the host name. We enter the host name and DNS links the host name to the respective IP address. Next service is DHCP. It runs on UDP port 67 and 68. The full form is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. It runs on UDP protocol that I've already told you. Basic purpose of DHCP is to assign IP address related information to the clients on a network automatically. So whenever your computer comes in a network, then DHCP makes sure that it has an IP address. So if the DHCP is not enabled, then your computer will not get the IP address automatically. You have to manually configure it. And generally most of the places DHCP is used. The last point here is that UDP port 67 performs the task of accepting address requests from DHCP and sending the data to the server. On the other hand, UDP port 68 performs the task of responding to all the requests of DHCP and forwarding the data to the client. So it is not that you have to just mug up things and learn them by heart. You just need to have the basic understanding that okay, what this service is doing. Then you can explain it to anyone in your own words. So this is the service that we all use in everyday life, HTTP. It runs on TCP port 80. It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It allows the browser to connect to the web pages of the internet, and once this connection has been made, you will get the privilege to connect to World Wide Web and get access to various pages out there. So I need not explain it further because we use it in our daily life. Next service is HTTPS. The port number is 443 TCP port, and the difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that HTTPS is a secure connection. So it has an added feature of security. It establishes a secure connection to make sure that the data is transmitted over a secure network. So for example, there is google.com. It uses an HTTPS service. So whenever you enter your credentials, the username and password, so they will get encrypted while the request is being sent. However, this is not the case with HTTP. There the password will be transferred in clear text. That is why the connection over HTTP is not secure. So for HTTPS, the last point, it encrypts and authenticates the network packets before transferring them over to the network to increase the security. Now this feature of security is introduced by the use of SSL, which is Secure Socket Layer. So last but not the least comes POP3. It runs on TCP port 110. The full form is Post Office Protocol version 3. It allows the email message to be retrieved from the SMTP server. So I have already told you about the SMTP service. So what POP3 does is it downloads the message from the server and then read them. The messages are also deleted from the server once they are downloaded. Okay. And the authentication details transferred over the network are not encrypted and sent in a plain text. So this is also a drawback. Now, these were a handful of services which are very important. There are a lot more interesting and important services like RDP, which runs on port number 3389. Similarly, there are other services like MySQL, MS SQL. So, it is better if you do your own research and learn their port numbers, because generally these types of questions are must in interviews. Then you must know all these important port numbers, the services, and what they do. I hope you learned something new from this tutorial. Thank you for watching this tutorial.